Next, Mr. Chameleon and The Little White Lies Murder Case. Tonight, we again present the famous Mr. Chameleon of Central Police Headquarters in his famous cases of crime and murder, brought to you by the makers of genuine Bayer aspirin. Mr. Chameleon, as you know, is the famous and dreaded detective who frequently uses a disguise to track down a killer, a disguise which at all times is recognized by the audience. Tonight, we give you Mr. Chameleon in The Little White Lies Murder Case. The scene opens in the pleasant living room of George and Hannah Coulter. An open fire burns attractively, and from the expression on George's face, it can be seen that he is happy to be in his home. And from his words, we know that he is looking forward to a particularly pleasant evening, little realizing that the dark clouds of murder are already casting their gruesome shadow over his life, as he says.
Well, Hannah, why don't you ask me why I brought those gorgeous roses home this afternoon? You haven't even mentioned them.
I think I know why, George, dear. But I'm afraid you're going to be disappointed.
Disappointed?
You sent them because June promised to stay home with us tonight, didn't you?
That's what she promised me this morning.
It was probably another of her little white lies, George. But remember, she's only 19.
19 or 90 makes no difference. That's no excuse for a constant white lies, as you call them, Hannah.
Oh, I know, dear, but...
Hello, Daddy, you old darling. How do you like my new dress? I bought it out of my own allowance, so don't look so worried.
June, you promised me at breakfast that you'd stay home tonight with your mother and me.
I forgot I had a date tonight.
A date with whom?
With Sandra Brown and her brother. To see South Pacific. Isn't that wonderful? You know how hard it is to get tickets for it.
With Sandra Brown and her brother. Well, I guess that's all right.
I promised to meet them at the theater, so I'd better start now. Good night, Dad. Nighty-night, Mother.
Good night, dear.
Good night. Hannah.
Yes, George?
Do you think June is really going out with Sandra and her brother? Or is this another of her white lies?
Oh, of course she's going with them. Don't be silly, George. Whom are you calling, George?
Sandra Brown's mother or father.
Why on earth do that?
Just to find out, Hannah. Just to find out... Hello? Oh, is this you, Mr. Brown? What? All the family out of town, you say? 2 weeks ago. I see, thank you.
What was it, George?
It was the caretaker, Hannah. The whole Brown family left to spend the winter in Florida 2 weeks ago. It's just as I thought, another of June's little white lies.
Oh, don't blame her too much, George. She may tell them because...
Because of what, Hannah?
Because you ask her too many questions. Girls don't like that, no matter how fond they are of their parents.
Oh, don't try to cover for her, Hannah. She deliberately lied to us tonight.
That's the doorbell, George.
I'll answer it.
Good evening, sir. You Mr. George Coulter?
Yes?
I'm Chameleon of Central Police Headquarters.
Chameleon? The police?
We've picked up a girl at a tavern a block away who claims to be your daughter.
My daughter?
I brought her here for you to identify. My partner, Detective Arnold, has her in our car. May we bring her in, please?
Why, yes, but what's happened?
Murder.
Hannah, come here.
Yes, dear.
Heaven help us, June has been arrested for murder.
No.
Detective Arnold, Dave, you bring the girl here to the door, please.
Okay, Mr. Chameleon. Come on, baby, step along. Here she is, Mr. Chameleon.
Dad? Mother, I didn't.
Oh, June, what have you done?
This girl was found standing beside the body of a young man named Bud Shelton, murdered a few minutes ago at the notorious tavern in the next block, operated by the equally notorious Duke Egan.
And we've got 2 witnesses who swear they saw your daughter June shoot him down.
They're lying, Father. They didn't see me kill Bud.
Well, if they didn't, they're giving a very good imitation of telling the truth, June. Dave, take her back to the car,
Oh,
please.
no, Mr. Chameleon, please don't arrest my daughter. Oh, George, do something, anything.
Mr. Chameleon, I don't understand what this all is, but I know that the worst thing June's ever done is to tell white lies.
Yes, harmless white lies, Mr. Chameleon.
Well, on the face of what she's told me so far, they sound like black lies. She's contradicted herself time after time. The truth simply is not in her.
Mr. Chameleon, do you realize how this can ruin my daughter's whole life? Arresting her for murder.
As a man, I realize it fully, and detest and loathe it, believe me, Mr. Coulter. But as a police officer with a sworn duty to perform, well, that's the nasty part of being one. And this is a murder case.
Mr. Chameleon,
Yes, June?
I admit I've lied to you. And lied to my father and mother before that. Now I want to tell you the truth. I realize I must to save myself, to prove I didn't kill Bud Shelton.
All right. You come inside with me, June. But remember, it had better be the truth this time. So you claim, June, that you had never met the murdered boy, Bud Shelton, until tonight.
No, I'd never met him before, Mr. Chameleon, and it was a blind date.
A blind date. Will you tell me all about that, please?
Well, the very girl who swears I killed Bud Shelton asked me to go on this date with her and her boyfriend.
Mm-hmm. Now, the girl's name is Vicky Jerome, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, and her boyfriend's name is Tom Devers. I just met him tonight, too.
So, of the 3 people involved in this murder, you actually knew only one, Vicky Jerome.
They were Vicky's friends, not mine. I tell you, I'd never seen them before, never. So why should
Why should you murder a total stranger? Yes, that's what I'm trying to find out. Now tell me this.
Yes?
Do your mother and father know this girl, Vicky Jerome?
Why, Mother doesn't. But my father does.
Your father knows Vicky?
Oh, yes, indeed.
Dave.
Right here, Mr. Chameleon.
Will you ask June's father to step in here a minute, please?
Mr. Coulter?
You want me, Mr. Chameleon?
Mr. Coulter, how well do you know the young girl, Vicky Jerome, that June was out with tonight?
Father.
Never mind, June. Well, Mr. Coulter?
Vicky Jerome, you say? Why, I don't know her at all.
You certain?
Of course I am. It's the first time I ever heard her name.
But, Daddy, you do know Vicky.
June, are you totally mad? Mr. Chameleon, this is another of my daughter's little white lies. Why she tells them, heaven only knows.
So you do not know the girl, Vicky, who was with your daughter tonight?
No, I do not. You believe me, don't you?
Why shouldn't I, Mr. Coulter? But just to clarify matters, I'll ask both you and June to come with me to headquarters now. Dave?
Yes, Mr. Chameleon.
Before we go, take that box of sachet bags on June's chest over there with us.
What? Those things she uses to perfume her chests and clothes closets?
But why take those, Mr. Chameleon?
Because I believe they're filled with dope, not perfumed sachet powder.
God help us, June, what next?
And shortly after, at Central Police Headquarters, we find Mr. Chameleon with the young couple, Vicky Jerome and Tom Devers, with whom June Coulter claims she went on a blind date that ended in murder. And Mr. Chameleon is saying to Vicky,
according to your story, Vicky, June Coulter lied when she said that you invited her out on a blind date tonight.
There was nothing blind about it, Mr. Chameleon. June knew the murdered boy very, very well. Intimately. Mm-hmm. Tom Devers here will tell you the same thing, won't you, Tom?
I don't see why June should have lied that way, Mr. Chameleon. It's simply screwy.
What do you mean, Tom?
Well, it doesn't make sense, Mr. Chameleon. For weeks, June has been the other half of a twosome with the boy she murdered, Bud Shelton. The only way I can account for it is that June is given to, well, not exactly lying, but you know.
Little white lies, her mother and father call them.
Her father. That pious old hypocrite, he would.
You know June's father, do you, Vicky?
Yes, I'll say I do. And I'll bet he knows as much about June's affair with Bud Shelton as anybody.
If you're looking for real proof, Mr. Chameleon...
Yes, Tom?
Ask Duke Egan, the owner of the tavern where Bud was killed tonight. June was there with Bud every night, almost.
Tom, why bring Duke Egan into it?
Why shouldn't I, Vicky? I'm not afraid of him. And Mr. Chameleon is investigating the murder of my best friend, Bud Shelton.
I'm sorry I ever got into this.
Yes, murder is unpleasant. Incidentally, Vicky, isn't that purse you carry a bit large for such a small girl?
Somebody gave it to me for Christmas. But
I noticed when you opened it that you seemed to carry a number of sachet bags, the sort of thing I understand that a lady uses to perfume her chests and clothes closets. It's rather unusual to be carrying those in your purse, isn't it?
What do you mean?
What Mr. Chameleon means, Vicky, is that we're really getting somewhere on this case. Let's have your purse, kid.
I won't give it you to Detective Arnold. Tell him to let me alone, Mr. Chameleon.
Better give him the purse, Vicky. It'll be returned.
Pass it over, Vicky. Well, Mr. Chameleon.
How many sachet bags are in it, Dave?
8, Mr. Chameleon. 8.
Oh, this is outrageous. Give me my purse. I want to get out of this place.
Plenty of gals like you have wanted to, Vicky, but few have ever made it.
Dave, open those sachets that are supposed to contain perfume and see what they really do contain.
Exactly what you suspected, Mr. Chameleon.
Mm-hmm. Bring in June Coulter's father, please.
Come in, Mr. Coulter.
Well, Mr. Chameleon, I hope by now you realize that my daughter June... Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't notice anyone else was in here with you.
Mr. Coulter, do you know this girl? Her name is Vicky Jerome.
No, I don't remember ever seeing her.
That's not true, Mr. Coulter. I worked in one of your downtown shops 3 years. And Mr. Chameleon...
Yes, Vicky?
This old fraud fired me because he said I was going around with the manager there.
Mr. Chameleon, that manager had a wife and 2 fine children.
So you do know Vicky, after all. Why did you say you didn't, Mr. Coulter?
Because I'd forgotten her entirely. I didn't recognize her until she recalled my discharging her.
He's lying to you, Mr. Chameleon.
Let me decide that, Vicky. Mr. Coulter.
Yes, sir.
What business are you in?
I own the Coulter chain of millinery shops. Why do you ask?
Because a number of sachet bags found in your daughter's room and in this girl Vicky's handbag were labeled Coulter.
I don't follow you, Mr. Chameleon.
Oh, well, perhaps you will. When I say they're filled with narcotics.
I couldn't believe you when you said that at my house.
And the indications are that your daughter June, along with her friend Vicky Jerome, were passers of the narcotics, with a cold-blooded, brutal murder at the end of the trail.
Mr. Chameleon, I got those sachet bags from his daughter June. I didn't know they were filled with dope. I swear I didn't.
I'll believe that, Vicky, after I've seen the man that you were so anxious for me not to see. Duke Egan, the tavern keeper.
Well, here we are, Mr. Chameleon. Duke Egan's high-class joint.
Too bad places like this stay just enough inside the law to keep open, Dave.
Sure is.
There's Duke Egan in there, tending his own bar. All right, let's go in. Duke Egan?
How are you, Chameleon? Have a drink on the house. Pleasure to serve a fancy cop like you.
Well, if drinks are all you'll ever have to serve, you're in luck, Duke.
Always the cop, eh? I try to be friendly, and what do I get? Well, what are you after this time, Chameleon?
What do you think, Duke? Game of gin rummy or a little talk about murder?
You mean that guy, Bud Shelton? Was it my fault he got bumped off on my premises?
When you get yours, Duke, I'll send you a wreath.
Yeah? What do you want me to do, laugh?
Just answer one question.
Okay, I'm with you, Chameleon.
Was a girl named June Coulter in the habit of coming here with a murdered boy, Bud Shelton?
Sure, all the time. June and Bud were an item.
Is that the truth, Duke?
Listen, Chameleon, I'm wise enough to know this is a murder case. I'm not taking chances. Those two were this way together.
I see. And Vicky Jerome and her boyfriend, Tom Devers.
All 4 of them, Chameleon, all 4.
Duke, if you're telling the truth, you're putting somebody in the chair.
So what?
You got any sachet bags on hand, Duke?
Are you kidding? Sachet bags? It's a laugh.
Careful, it's not out of the wrong side of your mouth. We'll have your place searched later.
Hello, Duke Egan's place.
This is the Commissioner of Police.
What an honor.
Cut it, Duke. If Chameleon is there, get him to the phone.
Okay. It's His Highness, the Commissioner himself. For you, Chameleon.
Yeah. Hello, Commissioner.
Now, listen, Chameleon, I've never gone over your head in the case yet, have I?
What's on the fire, Commissioner?
Just this, Chameleon. You've got George Coulter and his daughter June being held here at headquarters.
Uh-huh. What of it?
I know George Coulter very well. He's a decent, respectable man. Known him since school days, in fact.
Yes?
I'm convinced that he or his daughter June have nothing to do with this Sheldon murder. I want to release them. You're on the wrong track, Chameleon.
If you release them, Commissioner, it'll be on your own responsibility, not mine.
I'll take that responsibility.
All right. But I warn you, if you release them, put a police guard around their house and assign a police matron to stay every minute with June. I suspect them of murder. Goodbye.
Mr. Chameleon and the Little White Lies murder case continues in just a moment. When you have a cold, you need Bayer aspirin. Need it because it's important to you that you get quick relief from the headachy, feverish feeling and the muscular aches and pains that almost always accompany a cold. And because Bayer aspirin gives you this important relief, it should be taken at the first sign of a cold before you do anything else. Regardless of what you do to stop or shorten a cold, we believe your own doctor will tell you that this is sound advice. And it's advice you can follow with confidence. For Bayer aspirin is used by millions to treat these distressing symptoms. It provides amazingly fast relief, makes you feel better, because it's ready to go to work in 2 seconds. And its single active ingredient is so gentle to the system, the doctors prescribe it even for small children. That's why it's been used by millions of normal people without ill effect. So at the first sign of a cold, before you do anything else, take Bayer aspirin. And when you buy, ask for Bayer aspirin, not just for aspirin alone. Get the large size, the 100-tablet bottle, and you get Bayer aspirin tablets for less than a penny apiece. Now back to Mr. Chameleon and the Little White Lies murder case. The next morning, we find Mr. Chameleon in his office at police headquarters. A rather sad and unhappy Chameleon. Because for the first time in his career, the commissioner of police has gone over his head and has released 2 of his chief suspects in the murder of Bud Shelton. Released George Coulter and his daughter June, whose white lies may well have been black lies. The girl who has been identified by 2 of her own friends, Vicky Jerome and Vicky's boyfriend, Tom Devers, as the murderer. And we hear Chameleon saying to Detective Arnold,
Dave, it's incredible, the commissioner releasing those 2 people. I know he believes he's right and he's the soul of honor, but...
Well, I said in the first place I didn't believe the father had any part in the murder.
Yet his daughter had dope concealed in sachet bags to pass that way. Sachet bags that came from her father's millinery shops.
And so did her girlfriend that we're still holding, Vicky Jerome. And another thing.
Yes?
The boys are just back from searching Duke Egan's tavern for dope. No turkey.
Another lead blanked out, Dave. And it's a certainty that Bud Shelton's murder is connected with the dope racket.
Yeah, that's pretty evident.
The boys downstairs tell me that Vicky's boyfriend has been waiting there all night, hoping that we'll release Vicky.
Want to talk to him, Mr. Chameleon?
Mm-hmm. That's it, Dave. Get him up here, please.
Right away.
I'll ring the commissioner in the meanwhile, Dave. Commissioner's office, please.
Hello, Chameleon. Not sorry at me, are you?
No, of course not, Commissioner. I just want to ask you something.
Go ahead, Chameleon.
I'm going to approach the suspects in this case in disguise. Will you tell your friend George Coulter and his daughter June that when they meet me next time, I'll be disguised as a dope handler named Jackie Marino?
I'll phone them right away. Jackie Marino, eh?
Mm-hmm. And, Commissioner, tell them under no circumstances to let anyone know who I am.
I'll warn them, Chameleon. Goodbye.
Here's Tom Devers, Mr. Chameleon.
Oh, sit down, Tom.
Oh, thanks.
An idea just occurred to me.
Oh, I hope it's an idea that'll get Vicky out, Mr. Chameleon.
Yes, it is, Tom.
Hey, that's wonderful.
The first time I talked to you, Tom, I think you said that you and Vicky actually saw June Coulter murder your friend, Bud Shelton.
Yes. They had a quarrel. Bud started to leave Duke Egan's tavern. Then June ran after him, took a gun out of a big pocket in her coat.
And then you and Vicky followed?
Yes, tried to stop June. But when we got there, it was all over.
Who got outside first, you or Vicky?
Why, I did. But Vicky was right beside me.
What did Duke Egan do? Didn't he run outside, too?
Yes. Oh, he was out there before Vicky and me.
Aha. Well, then there's a chance Duke Egan may have killed Bud, right?
Oh, but why, Mr. Chameleon?
Well, both June Coulter and Vicky had dope concealed in sachet bags. And Duke Egan is a bad character, Tom.
Mr. Chameleon, if Vicky had any dope with her, June Coulter planted it on her.
So?
The sachet bags with the dope were from June's father's shops.
Tom, you see that motto on the wall behind my desk?
What? Well, yes, it says the innocent must be protected and the guilty punished.
Well, that's what I'm leading to, Tom. You see, some of that dope in sachets was planted on you.
On me? How?
Well, as a matter of routine, your apartment was searched last night on the order of the Commissioner of Police himself.
Well, I don't understand.
Now, it could have been planted by Duke Egan or by June's father, George Coulter.
Well, it at least lets Vicky out. She was in a cell all night. But, Mr. Chameleon, what's the idea you spoke of to pin the real murderer down?
I'm going to appear in disguise at Duke Egan's tavern tonight.
Oh, now I understand. I've heard of your disguises.
I'll appear as a dope peddler named Jackie Marino, and I need you and Vicky there, Tom.
Well, this sounds like a real thrill, Mr. Chameleon.
Tom, I'm putting my life in your hands when I reveal this disguise. Now, I depend on you and Vicky to tell nobody in Egan's that you recognize Jackie Marino, the dope peddler, as Chameleon the cop.
You can depend on me and Vicky, Mr. Chameleon.
Now, make it clear to Vicky, Tom, that her own life won't be worth a plugged nickel if she lets Duke Egan or June Coulter and her father get the idea that she is working with me.
You needn't tell me that twice, Mr. Chameleon.
All right, that's all for now, Tom. And Dave.
I take it you're releasing Vicky now, Mr. Chameleon?
Yes, Dave. Have her released in Tom's custody.
Well, Vicky is out, Mr. Chameleon. Free as a bird in the air with Tom Devers.
Fine, Dave.
What are you trying to do? Make sure you get yourself killed off? I got word from the commissioner you tipped off June Coulter, the white lie gal, and her father to your disguise, too. Anybody else you want tipped off just to make sure you get plugged?
Mm-hmm. Duke Egan.
Duke Egan? Listen, Mr. Chameleon, have you gone nuts?
Telephone Egan and tell him that I'll be there at 9 tonight, disguised as Jackie Marino, a dope peddler.
Now I'm sure you've gone batty.
And after you've talked to Egan, do two other things, Dave, please.
What two things?
Have Duke Egan's place surrounded by our best men at 9 tonight. And bring George Coulter and his daughter, June, there yourself.
And what about Tom Devers and Vicky?
She'll be there all right, Dave. I left orders early this morning to have her trailed.
Okay. What a murder trap you've fixed up for yourself, Mr. Chameleon.
And that evening at 9, in the underworld tavern of Duke Egan, with every suspect in the murder of Bud Shelton waiting, we see Mr. Chameleon enter, and speaking in his disguise as Jackie Marino, the dope peddler, he says,
You, Duke Egan? You own this tavern?
Get out, you bum.
No. Take it easy, Duke. I'm Jackie Marino. You know me.
What? Oh, Jackie Marino. Sorry, pal, I didn't recognize you. Have a drink.
No. I'm off for liquor, Duke. Hey, who are these characters here? This one looks like a cop.
Don't get gay, Jackie, or I'll slap you down.
You got none on me, Detective Arnold. But I got plenty on this guy and his pretty-faced daughter. I mean you, George Coulter, and you, Miss June. You're dope peddlers and murderers.
What? My daughter and I...
You heard me, Mr. Coulter. You passed out dope in sachet bags from your millinery shops and got your daughter June and that Dame Vicky over there to pass this stuff.
I'll report you to the police commissioner for this, Mr. Marino.
Cut the comedy, Coulter, or you'll have your daughter June up for murdering Bud Shelton.
I didn't kill him. I didn't, Mr. Marino. Vicky, tell him I didn't.
You're afraid of Chameleon, huh, June? That's why you yiped out his name, huh?
June, don't ask me to say you didn't kill Bud. Tom and I saw you, didn't we, Tom?
Duke Egan, who runs this tavern, told a pal of mine that you killed him yourself, Vicky.
What's that? I didn't say Vicky killed Bud Shelton.
Quit kidding, Duke. I got something else, too, for you. This guy here, this Tom Devers, he told Chameleon that you murdered Bud.
Grapevine stuff. Might get you in the chair, Duke.
You dirty rat, Tom Davis, I'll blow your head off.
Keep him away from me, Mr. Chameleon.
Don't move, Duke, or you'll get a bullet. Give me the gun.
This skunk Tom Davis is trying to frame me. Listen, Chameleon, you can't put me in the chair for this murder.
You want to bet, Duke?
This dame, Vicky Jerome, and her twosome Tom Davis did it. I seen him. I'll swear to it. In any man's court.
No court would believe you on oath, Duke. Where's your proof?
Look in that wine case under the bar, Mr. Chameleon. You'll find Tom Davis' murder gun there.
Look for it, Dave.
Here it is, Mr. Chameleon.
Dust it for prints, Dave.
Get out of my way, everybody, or I'll blast you all.
Oh, no, you don't.
Let go of me.
I've got him, Mr. Chameleon.
The gun's all we need, Dave. Tom Davis, I arrest you for the murder of Bud Shelton. Handcuff him, Dave. I'll take care of Vicky.
All right, Tom and I did it. We killed Bud.
Shut up, Vicky. Shut up. Chameleon hasn't got enough on us.
All I've got, Tom, is the gun that you killed Bud with, and your own conflicting statements to me.
What statements, Chameleon?
The first time you related the murder, you said Duke Egan was behind the bar when the murder was committed.
Yeah, what of it, Chameleon?
And the second time, you said he was outside at the murder time, ahead of you and Vicky. And then...
Then what?
When I told you dope had been planted in your apartment this afternoon, you didn't blink an eye, because you knew it hadn't been. You know that you were the top man in your dope ring. Nobody but yourself could have planted anything on you. So there is only one question remaining.
Well, I thought you had all the answers, Mr. Chameleon.
Why did you kill Bud Shelton?
Because he was sweet on June Coulter, a born liar, and he was telling her what my racket was. But before you take me in, I like to do the decent thing, Chameleon.
You mean tell me that June Coulter didn't know she was passing dope?
Yeah, that's it. She didn't. I know she was such a liar that if she was picked up, she'd lie herself and not me onto a spot. Nobody would believe her.
June?
Mr. Chameleon, I lied because I didn't want my mother and father to know I was mixed up with those people.
Well, you see what little white lies can lead to. Dave, you bundle Tom Devers and Vicky into the car and book them for murder. While I tell the commissioner that his hunch was at least half right.
And with these words, Mr. Chameleon concludes tonight's murder case. Mothers everywhere, listen carefully. Now, genuine Bayer aspirin is available in a new children's-sized tablet containing half the amount of the regular-sized Bayer aspirin tablet. These new children's-sized Bayer aspirin tablets make it possible for you to conveniently give your children the proper dosage as prescribed by your doctor. And because they're made so they can be broken right in half, you can easily give still smaller dosages whenever necessary. In addition, these new children's-sized Bayer aspirin tablets have another feature that appeals to wise mothers. They are neither flavored nor colored, so that they cannot be mistaken for candy, and they can be used with complete confidence. For the fact that doctors prescribe Bayer aspirin's single active ingredient even for the smallest children shows how gentle and dependable it is. The bottle and carton are plainly marked children's size Bayer aspirin, 30 tablets for 25 cents. Listen next Wednesday night at this same time for Mr. Chameleon, the man of many faces, in The Fatal Alimony Murder Case. The part of Mr. Chameleon is played by Carl Swenson with dialogue by Frank Hummert from the original story by Frank and Ann Hummert. Music directed by Victor Arden. Your announcer is Howard Claney.
The only sensible way to help prevent tooth decay is to keep your teeth thoroughly clean at all times. For teeth that are really clean, free of decay breeding deposits and film, actually resist decay. And the best way to get your teeth really clean is with powder. There's nothing you can get that cleans teeth like powder. To prove this, try Dr. Lyon's tooth powder. Almost instantly, it helps remove deposits and film in which bacteria form, bacteria that cause tooth decay. So to help prevent tooth decay before it gets started, use Dr. Lyon's tooth powder. Ask for either regular or ammoniated Dr. Lyon's tooth powder.
Listen for Mr. Chameleon in The Fatal Alimony Murder Case next Wednesday night at this time. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.